All right. Hi, members. Welcome to your weekly readings. Let's do a selection from the written in topics. Let's see. What does Spirit want us to talk about today? And if you want to add a topic into the jar, you can put that in the comments below. What messages do the blueprinters have for you? Ooh, this is going to be a big one. If you're not new to the members side of the channel, you know that there's a large group of blueprinter souls who are here in this little subsection of the collective. And if you don't know what blueprinters are, I do have a video on blueprinter starseed origins on my old channel, To Kitty and Beyond, which you can find linked in the main homepage of my channel here. Okay, so let's find out what the blueprinters would like to say. Let's do, we're going to use this deck. Okay. So let's select, are we doing a pick a card or are we just doing a collective reading, like messages from the blueprinters? They're saying just do a collective. Okay, so this isn't going to be a pick a card. This isn't going to be a pick a card. We're just going to look at messages from the blueprinters. Yeah, they're just telling me there's one main message. That's why it doesn't need to be split up into three. All right. The Hanged Man reversed with the Imp card. The Hanged Man reversed. Judgment. Cerberus. Ooh, yeah. The Six of Wands. Golem. Okay. I'm hearing the blueprinters want you to know that you are strong. It's kind of like as you face... Okay, they're playing the final countdown in my head now. It's the final countdown. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na. So there's a victory here. Six of Wands. For sure. And they want you to know that you're stronger than you think you are. 222 just showed up on the recording time, especially as you face like the final boss. It's kind of what it feels like in a video game when you get to this really high level and then you face off with the final boss at the end of the game. And it's like the biggest battle. But ultimately, that is how you beat the game. That is how you win. It's the final win. It's not like the win before the win or even any of the previous wins before that have built up to this point. It's the final win. And it's going to be successful here. Leo season could be or have been significant. Something about August, the August gateway I just heard. Yes, okay. So the Heliacal rise of Sirius was significant. It was like an activation point for this. And now it's culminating, or it feels like it's happening right around now. Although these are timeless readings. But the Hanged Man in reverse, this has actually been coming up a lot. I've been seeing, we'll get more cards, but I've been seeing the Hanged Man coming up in regard to things being upside down and having things kind of be turned on their head. And in the context that Spirit has been showing it to me, it hasn't been bad. It's not like things are being turned upside down and then things are all out of whack. It's quite the opposite. It's actually like being upside down for that period of time helps you to see something more clearly, or it helps you to, I'm hearing the word transgress, or transmigration could be part of this as well, but something about it helps you to move out of a particular energy and into another one. They were also showing me a lot to do with portals and moving from one space to another. I think that's what transmigration is about, but I'd have to double check that. But the word transgress, let me look that one up really quick. Hold on. I've got my computer here. Because you guys know that the way that I work with Spirit, they will use very specific language, wording, and information to relay. Hold on. Okay, it says infringe or go beyond the bounds of a moral principle or other established standard of behaviors. Okay, so it feels like you're going to win here, and the blueprinters want you to know that when it comes to infringements on your free will that were inflicted by incarnating into this realm and taking on collective human karma, you are going to succeed in moving that energy beyond that point of limitation or that point of constriction. They're showing me somebody squeezing the head. It's like constriction of the mental realm. And they were bringing up messages over the last 24 hours to me synchronistically about saying no, using your free will, being able to make your own decisions versus acting like a zombie or being brainwashed or having your free will taken away from you or having to obey against your will. There was exploration around what even is free will. And this is really fundamentally a blueprinter message. I'm now realizing that this is coming up in this reading because the blueprinters helped to create humanity. They're part of this social experiment. And the psychology of the use of free will when you're under the influence of the veil is what is being explored here and being battled against. It's like, can you use your own judgment? Or are you going to transgress as a result of the frequency that you've been exposed to? Or they're also showing me emotional influences, like waves coming from different directions, and you're standing in the middle getting hit by these waves that are hitting. Yeah, this, like, they're showing me waves on both sides. Queen of Cups. There's confirmation there with the waves coming from all directions, they're saying. Converging on the center point. Something about that is significant as well. Oh, they said don't get any more cards from this deck. Now we're going to do, oh, this one. Okay. So, yeah, let me just see. Truth. Wow. Yeah, the truth will be revealed. And I'm hearing in the least expected way. It's like the truth will be revealed in a time and place where you would not expect it. I don't know what that means here, but they want you to know that the truth that you have suspected, something about suspect, it will be confirmed to you, or you will face up against this final showdown and you'll come out more enlightened on what the truth for you actually is. What those moral principles stand for is what I just heard. What those moral principles stand for. That's your truth. And when you're in alignment with that, everything can't help but kind of work out. You're in your power is what they're saying. You're in your power. And so you can go up against Goliath in that sense because you have integrity on your side, spiritually speaking. You have source on your side. I love that. The truth comes from source. The truth is really that we all come from source. And the blueprinters are a group of souls, a group of source energy, let's just say, that in this universal time matrix is a little bit closer to that source energy. As a collective, they embody a high level of consciousness that's aligned with that source truth, the unity principle, the law of one. And that's what makes them such brilliant creator beings. Ooh, choice. I knew it. I told you guys. Well, I don't even know if I used the word choice, but they were showing me stuff about free will. What even is free will? Is there free will if you're being controlled, or if you don't have the truth, or if you're not connected to source, or if you're not in your power, if you're making choices that are, and that I watched a show recently and it was like, they said, don't forget these two. All right. On the bottom and on the top. There was a show that was basically like, what even is free will, or does it even exist? Is everything deterministic? And in the show, they said, what if I just do something really unpredictable? Does that mean that I have free will? If I do something that I would not normally do, or is that deterministic? because that has been placed in my head, or it's part of some predestined storyline. And it was an interesting concept. And this is what the blueprinters actually want to talk about, because this is part of the battle. It's the battle for free will. And there's a lot that's even coming out now about how humans don't have free will. What's coming to mind is actually a study that I saw where they were looking at the neurology or the neuroscience of free will. And if you cut something in the brain, I can't remember what it was, it may have been something to do with the connection between the left and right brain, then you don't have any free will, so to speak. But there's something here about, like, you always do at the soul level, even if your physical free will is taken away from you or perceived to be limited in some way by some external force or some physical limitation. You still always have your spiritual free will. And it's kind of like they're different. And the way that they're showing it to me right now is that you have the free will of choice from the spirit level, and then that plays out through the physical level or is examined and acted upon by the ego. But if the ego is, let's say, they're saying the word flawed. I wouldn't say flawed, but I would say, like, let's say the ego is less aware, and therefore it has less use of that free will. You still always have the free will of the spirit. Now, what's the difference? The difference is the fact that your spirit chooses how you're going to receive the experiences, how you're going to embody in the moment of whatever you're going through, or whatever the choices and the actions are that lead you down whatever kind of path that's unfolding for you, whether it's been predetermined or not. But they want to talk about choice here. And there's something about the more, like, this is something that Spirit has been teaching me, not necessarily recently, but like over the course of my spiritual journey. They've taught me that the more consciousness you have, the more free will you can use. And it's kind of like when you're operating from a lower level consciousness, when you have less self-awareness or less awareness of the influences that are a part of the system, the more ingrained in that quote unquote matrix you are, the less free will you have available to you. Why? It's not like the free will is taken away. It's just limited or constricted or confined, because if you don't have the information to make a particular choice outside of what you believe is possible, then you're going to be constricted by what you believe or what you perceive. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like, if I don't know that I have 10,000 options, if I think I only have 2, that limits my free will. Because why? Because it limits my availability of choice. And that's why consciousness and truth and connecting to the source energy, which is everything is presented there to you, expands your free will rather than limiting it. But to get to that level of freedom, you have to embody that truth. You have to bring awareness to something, which is why I think the Hanged Man reverse is here, because it's like the expansion of the consciousness, especially expansion of the consciousness from within the confines of a physical matrix, of a mental matrix, of a like world within worlds, within worlds, within worlds, of this Inception style simulation video game reality that we call life. So that ultimately, the more we expand and go inward at the same time, because it's when we're talking about unity, it's both directions at once, we can come back home to ourselves and understand all of the options that we have. And it still boils down into one choice, which is interesting as well. Like, can you choose multiple things at once? I think in the multiverse, yeah, you can. And the way that the blueprinters are showing it to me, it's like there's matrices within matrices. And there's parallel dimensions and parallel realities, and the blueprinters can see it all at once. It's like an algorithm, the way they're showing it to me. It's some kind of like, it's like a million supercomputers running at once. That's what they're showing me. all playing out every possible scenario, every random thing. And then the players in the game get to choose. It's like pick your own adventure. That came up in the Soul Family live stream that we did yesterday. That one, the October part 1, was a pick a card. And there was a lot of really interesting messages that came through if you're on that side of the membership. And it was very much about this topic. So something about determinism and the final battle for free will, or the final battle for a major choice that is going to fundamentally expand your level of embodied truth and your connection to that source potential. Nurture. Oh, I just heard nurture versus nature. Okay, for those of you who are not aware, I love psychology. Actually, that was what I initially wanted to do. I was in school to be a psychologist. I wanted to do cognitive behavioral therapy or some version of therapy. I studied neuroscience, and it's been a long time since I did that. But I remember nurture versus nature and the debate between which one is it? Do we even have free will if we're controlled by our biology and shaped by our environment? And the conclusion that science has come to, for the most part, or at least the way that I see it, is it's both. It's both. So yes, we do have influences that epigenetically or biologically influence our behavior, our personality, that shape how we see the world, or the reactions that we have, or the responses that we're predisposed to. However, we also can change those things ourselves. And yes, the nurturing and the way we're raised and the imprinting and all of that is really important too. But I'm seeing this nurture here as like when you connect to the truth and you connect to source, and this is what the blueprinters are wanting you to do. When you choose that of your own free will, when you feel the truth beyond the physical reality and what the information is presenting you, and you choose to nurture your own personal power, there's like a resurrection, the judgment card, there's a resurrection that comes forth from within you of this higher state of consciousness that opens up so many more potentials of how this free will can be expressed. And I'm also hearing that you're less influenced by the biological and the environmental factors. You are in sovereignty, personal power. Encounter. Oh boy. Oh, encounter. Well, this feels a little bit like the confrontation of that final battle, encountering the multiple dimensions of the self I'm seeing within the self, and they're showing me a spiral down into the self and up into the self. Yeah, they keep showing me it goes in both directions. It's like as you're going down, you're going up. This encounter feels pivotal because what you're actually encountering is different layers of the self, different layers of the truth within yourself. There may also be an encounter with someone who embodies these levels of source coding, who is nurturing, divine mother template, blueprint. I'm hearing blueprinter. So this could be an encounter that you are having with a blueprinter. Yes, that's their soul origin. I'm hearing, yes, that's their soul origin. And you will know this by how they catalyze change in your life after the encounter with them. Even if it's brief and in passing, it fundamentally shifts your perspective on your free will and puts you in your power. It's kind of the way they're showing it to me is like you're about to face the final boss, okay? And this person comes in as a final helper. It's like in a video game, and I love using this example because life is kind of like a giant RPG, role-playing game. We are here in this avatar, experiencing this reality, but the real player is the higher self. The real player is our spirit. The real player is actually source, if we go all the way back to source. And what I love in video games is that sometimes right before you're about to show down with a final boss, you'll have like a helper come in and give you some kind of a magical tool, right? Like, oh, you need this, the Excalibur. Okay, Excalibur could be significant as well. Albion codes, King Arthur's court, UK, EU, the heart chakra of the planet of the earth, significant, something about that. King and queen codes have been coming up the last, 72 hours or so. But there's somebody who comes in and they give you this code to help you overcome this boss or the final battle. And this person is a blueprinter. Why? Because that's their role. That's what they do. The blueprinters are here to help in the ascension of human consciousness. They're helping humanity to evolve. Why? Because they're karmically tied to this experiment, if we want to look at it that way. And some of the negative influences that have confounded, I'm hearing the word, confounded the experiment, thrown in as unintended variables to skew the results of this experiment toward more negative or nefarious means, have to be countered. They have to be. Because that's not fair and that's not scientific. If something is being negatively influenced for ulterior motives or ulterior gains, that's not true science. You have to let something play out on its own. And one could argue, well, then isn't the positive interference also, interference? And is that not fair to the experiment? Yeah, true, fair enough. But if there's a negative influence, then to create neutrality, you have to counter it with a positive influence. There needs to be balance, no matter what. There always needs to be balance. And the only way to do that is to harmonize those two. And so there is equality in that fairness, and it evens the playing field, right? And with that even playing field, you're better able to make your own free will decisions. Humanity even, like not just you, but humanity as a whole, as a collective, as a giant conglomerate of consciousness, gets to make its own choice about how it wants to evolve, which was ultimately the goal of the blueprinters in creating or seeding the race of humanity. I'm hearing Hue, H-U-E, like frequency beings. Code holders, I'm also hearing. Okay, that's very random and out of left field, but this must be connected somehow. I heard Kylo Ren, which is the negative, he was like the bad guy in the most recent Star Wars movies. Kylo Ren. Okay, something about, oh, it's been a while since I saw that movie. Let me see if I can jog my memory here. Something about that final showdown is connected here. Judgment, the final choice. He has to choose between good and evil. He has to choose between the force and the dark side. Something about nurture versus nature with that as well. I'm going to have to rewatch that movie to fully kind of like put the pieces together here, but they've brought that up for a reason. Because archetypally, it represents kind of something that we're talking about here, or something that you may be facing at this time. Or upcoming. They're saying upcoming. Up and coming. Something up and coming. No, I was reaching for more cards and they're like, no, just keep going with this. Show the one on the bottom. Let's see what it is. The world. Ouroboros. Ooh, Dragon Masters, I just heard. Dragon Masters. Wow. The infinite flow, the 8, the lemniscate, the infinity sign, that's the karmic wheel, that's the cause and effect, and it has the upper and the lower. Merkaba here is significant, light body expansion, dragon codes, dragon lines. I did mention Camelot, King Arthur's court. Something about the dragons is connected to that as well. I'm not sure how that is connected, but it is. Greek mythology also, we've got a couple references here to Greek mythology. So, they're saying something was given life. And they're showing me thought form creations like tulpas or even Gollum. Like we had Gollum underneath there. That's like it's like a inanimate object that was given life or that was brought to life. Okay, something about consciousness seeding, and how thought creates form. Thought creates form. And the choices that we make in what we are creating in our life and also in the world, in this world that we reside within. And they're showing me multiple worlds. Like clairvoyantly, they're showing me millions of Earths. It's like almost like paper cutouts. And they're showing me like a flip book. Million of different Earths, but if you flip through that flip book really fast, it looks like it's moving or it's rotating. So there's something about like an illusion, stop motion, the way things that are separate fit together to create some kind of momentum, and the world itself. Ooh, look. Two of Swords, ghosts. Ghosts have also been coming up a lot. I know it's like, October at the time that I'm filming this. It's a timeless reading, but it's October at the time I'm filming this. And it's like Halloween's coming up. My favorite holiday, by the way. But yes, I'm one of those Halloween girls. But I've been seeing a lot specifically to do with ghosts. And this is like spirit, could be something to do with earthbound souls, could be to do with something about like haunting from the past, or these like different ghostly emanations of earth or of the collective. I don't know what that means yet. I'm hopefully going to figure this out. And if I do, I will share it with you, of course, always, if I'm called to do so anyway. But there's been some synchronicities, a lot of them, about ghosts, been seeing dragons. But what I wanted to mention here was the chains around this dragon. And it's like the restriction of free will. Ooh, you know what? Upper restriction, it looks a little different, doesn't it? The upper chains are rope. The lower chains are metal. That could be significant somehow. Everything is symbolic. What does that mean? Rope is braided, chains are linked. Rope is easier to cut, and they're saying something about tensile strength. The rope reminds me of DNA, the way that it's woven together like that. DNA is consciousness. And the chains remind me of like the devil card. Metal is stronger, but also more fragile. One is easier to break, one is easier to cut. This, I don't know what this means, but it's profound and it's significant. So if you have any ideas about what this could mean, let me know. But there's some kind of an important encounter here that's going to give you the resources you need, whether it's tools, information, awareness, magical abilities. I just heard. What? Giving you okay, this is reminding me of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. The blueprinters are here to activate within you the archetype of the hero. But they said, be warned, do not succumb or fall prey to the savior. There's a difference. What's the difference? The hero fights the battle and endures the journey for the sake of his own evolution. The savior seeks to save other. The savior is actually playing out the polarity or the shadow versus light side of the victim victor. Ooh, we did have the Six of Wands, which is victor. Okay. That's the difference, they're saying. You're not here to save the world. You're here to save yourself. But in saving yourself, you save the world. Ooh. Okay. Something about stone as well. Medusa would turn people to stone. The golem was made of clay or stone. So we have rope, metal, and stone. Interesting. Yeah, they're showing me a portal. Gateways, archways, pillars. This is connected to the grid network on the earth. If you're familiar with the pillars and the gateways, the stargates, all of that, that's what the blueprinters are talking about. That's what their primary concern is right now, they're saying. And any encounters that you have right before the final countdown or before the final boss are to help you to anchor and stabilize that light frequency, to free yourself from the chains of restriction that have limited your use of your ego's ability to facilitate the free will of the spirit, and to, they're showing me an expansion, expand the consciousness beyond the previous confines or bounds that this world chained you to. And they're showing me like blasting outside of the stratosphere, so to speak, in terms of your awareness of the truth. Yeah, they're saying moving beyond the ego limitations or restrictions. Transcending the ego. And they're saying the word transmigration again. Let's look up transmigration. I feel like that's relevant. No, they said leave it to you. Okay. So if you feel called to look up transmigration, feel free to do that. They're telling me not to do it. So, okay, fine. But I feel like it would be helpful if I could know what that really meant, Spirit. They said, you know what it means. Go back in the history files. Okay, what? Okay, hold on. Is it to do with relocation? They're saying yes. Keep going. Okay. Is it to do with timelines? They nodded. Okay. Is it to do with movement? They're saying replacement. Something about replacement. Placement of the soul. And they're showing me character, like a character. Oh, since we were talking about video games. Oh, kitty's meowing in the background. Kitty's for confirmation. Since we were talking about video games, this could even be talking about like moving from one space to another through those portals. And it's like being able to be in one place in 1 minute and then in another the next minute. It's like transdimensional migration or transdimensional movement. And in video games, the example that's coming to mind is like when you're in one city and then you can fast travel to another city that's really far away instead of having to walk or ride your horse there or like take a carriage or something. I'm thinking like Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, the Elder Scrolls games, if you're familiar with them. But there's a lot of games where you can fast travel like that. It just makes it easier. And there's something about that they're talking about here. But instead of moving from one city to another, it's like moving from one world to another is the way they're showing it to me. And they're showing me the flip book again of all of the different earths, the worlds. And they keep saying worlds within worlds. That's a card in a different deck too. They're showing me that clairvoyantly, that card in the other deck. Okay. Worlds within worlds. Inception's been coming up a lot as well. Ooh, and since we're talking about free will, this could be like, what even is free will if the thought is incepted? Well, then it boils down to your moral character and what you ultimately choose to do. Because if you've been influenced from the inside out, or a thought or a seed has been planted in you, ultimately, your free will isn't that thought. It's how you choose to act on it, whether you choose to act on it. Okay. They're saying the final showdown is not against something outside of you. It's a battle for the mind. It's a battle for your own free will within you. Do you choose what feels morally right for you, or are you going to be they're using the word flawed again? What? I don't like that word because I don't think you're flawed. I don't think anybody's flawed. Well, maybe we are, but humans are flawed in a beautiful way is what they just said. It's built into the system. It's not actually a flaw. But anyway, are you going to be influenced by some kind of external or possibly internal moral ambiguity? And this is what it really boils down to, is finding your truth. And then acting on that as best you can. Aligning with the highest truth that you have available to you and continuing to expand out as far as you can with that, so that your actions in the physical reality are going to reflect that. And they're saying to the best of your ability. So there's no perfection here. There's no need for excessive or undue pressure being placed on the self. Just being open, conscientious, striving with your intention for integrity, and assessing the situation from an intuitive standpoint. That's really the best you can do in this physical reality. And that's part of the game. That's like the rules of the game. You're not meant to have all the answers. You're just meant to feel as clearly as you are able, and to continue to hone and refine that. They are saying skills and abilities, and they're saying encounter again. So I do feel like an encounter, like they were saying before, with a blueprinter who's very much directly a conduit of source, it is going to help to enhance, refine, or hone, like I was just saying, some of these intuitive skills or abilities that you innately have. We all do. But they're saying flaws in the system again. Okay, can you explain more about these flaws in the system, please? You've referenced them a couple times now. Blueprinters, what are you talking about? Oh, they said the flaws in the system are corrupted hardware. Corrupted hardware. By hardware, do you mean like the physical body? Yes, and they said consciousness conduit. They're taking me back to the brain again. Neuropathy, neurology, neuropathways, they're saying, okay. Functions of the mind expressed through the hardware. This was also something that really fascinated me when I was in school, learning about the brain. It's like if you can press on a neuron in the brain, or if you can press on a neuroreceptor in the brain, you can influence behavior. You can even change personality. And I remember thinking, this was way before it wasn't way before my spiritual awakening. Now that I think back, it was like around the beginning of my spiritual awakening, actually. Because I remember sitting in class and practicing looking at people's auras. But anyway, point being, I remember wondering, do we even have free will if the brain influences our behaviors, our personality, our expression, our actions, our choices so fundamentally? And they're saying yes and no. Like, yes, it does. It does influence or limit your free will in certain ways, or there's certain factors involved in that. But you can transcend that as well, because they just said mind over matter. Mind, which goes beyond the brain itself. The brain is just the conduit. It's like if you destroy the computer, or the computer has a virus, or the computer has a flaw, that does not influence the internet itself. And now they're showing me supercomputers. Oh, didn't that come up before? Yeah, supercomputers. And it's like, where does the internet actually come from? It's created by these supercomputers. Now, what does that mean here? They're saying source, and they're showing me those multiple worlds again. Multiple worlds, multiverse, supercomputers, source codes, source frequency, source consciousness, the creator. They're saying something about entity, and the creator entity, the creator consciousness as an entity projects out these thought forms that create worlds, just like we create what's in our reality, what's in our world at a smaller scale, as above, so below. Okay. So even if the neurology is skewed or flawed in some way, not for you specifically, but like at a collective human level, we're not operating at our highest capacity here. And it's not true that we only use 10% of the brain. That's an old wives' tale. We use pretty much 100% of our brain. We just don't use all of it at one time. or necessarily in the ways that we have available to us if we were operating from this higher level truth or this higher level source frequency. But they are saying repairs. Okay, so there's going to be repairs to the system, repairs to the brain, repairs to the physical structure of humanity. And they are saying something about the corruption that led to chaos within humanity. They're saying wars now. Oh my gosh, okay. Something about atomic or nuclear codes. All right. And the brain, and they're showing me particle accelerators. They're showing me like CERN, okay. Smashing atoms together. Something about electrons. Blueprinters are very, very, very high level consciousness. So we're talking about like really big scale stuff here. But there's codes in it. They're saying it's important. And if you were drawn to this video and it's resonating with you, there's a reason you're here, and there's a reason you need to know this, even if you don't know why yet, but I think you will. Okay. Now they're showing me different locations, points of consciousness. Raw, yeah, again, the law of one, the raw collective, blue avians are significant. That came up in the last reading as well. Now they're coming up again, because sometimes, you know, when it comes to time, it's not linear, right? So stuff that is going to happen in the future, you can start to see like symptoms of it or lead up to it in the present. That's significant here as well. Timeline control, they're saying, time lords, emotion coding. Isn't that a type of modality, emotion code? That could be significant here as well to help to reprogram the hardware. This could be an encounter with somebody who is an emotion recoder, who specializes in that. Okay. They're showing me the chains again. This one being upside down. Chain upside down, chains. Okay. Chains, links, connections. Like barrel of monkeys is what it's reminding me of. Lifting up, connecting to lift up and out. The hook. Yeah, it's like something, in the negative sense, it's like something hooking you into, I'm hearing the word parable. A parable. That's like a story that teaches you something moralistic. Again, morals being highlighted here. Okay, what? But, okay. The other side of it is being lifted up and out of something. They're showing grappling hooks now, which are like, right, like rope with a little hook on the end, and you cast it up and then you climb up. It's like Batman. They were showing me Batman as a synchronicity as well, and he had grappling hooks, and he would use that all the time. And he didn't actually have any superpowers other than being rich. He's like a billionaire, you know. That's his only superpower. Elon Musk was also referenced in some synchronicities recently with like to do with like brain chips and stuff and self-destruct and something about the head being on fire. Okay, this is all symbolic, but there's something here about that as well, like billionaires, money, trying to reach an ascended level of consciousness through technology. They're saying it's not the way to do it. Oh, okay. They just said the parable of the fish and the frog, which I am not familiar with. I don't know if that's a direct reference to something like an actual story, or if that is something that we need to just figure out on our own. The fish and the frog? I don't know. They did show me frogs recently, and that came up in a reading that I posted this morning. So something about that. The fish and the frog. And they're saying it's a riddle. It's a riddle. In my head, I'm like, why, Spirit? Why, Blueprinters? Do you always gotta challenge us with riddles? Why can't you ever just tell it to us straight? Yeah, they said that My throat just almost closed up. The truth is hidden in plain sight. I got a frog in my throat. Oh, I have a frog in my throat, and the fish could be about Pisces. I'm just kind of like, I'm just doing free association now. I'm a Pisces. That's why that came to mind. Pisces rules the 12th house. This could be like something hidden. Oh yeah, the 12th house is hidden things. It's something hidden in plain sight. Something about time or the subconscious or the mind itself that transcends the barriers of the physical reality. Or even time itself, the time-space matrix, they're saying. Time-space. Time-space. You've got to go outside of time and space to access the source frequency, because that's when you enter into space-time. Okay, the ever-present now, and I looked up at the time and it was 4555, the 555 frequency, the 555 codes. Major change. I've also been getting synchronicities about adaptability. Being able to adapt, being able to do the unexpected, to take a risk, so to speak. But it's not like a human risk. It's not like I'm going to risk doing this. Well, kind of it is, but it's more so, it's like a spiritual risk of some kind. I don't know what this means. They're saying risking the deep dive. It is a risk. To want to go deeper, to swim into uncharted territory, or to go into an environment that's not your own. Oh, it was a risk to incarnate. Yes. And beyond that, they're saying it's a risk to, they're saying something about metamorphs. That was a show in like the 90s, early 2000s. It was like people that could transform into animals. Okay. Something about transformation. Again, adaptability. But it's like a risk to migrate through time in this way, or it's a risk to start tampering with the timelines, or it's a risk to start interfering with the experiment in this way. But it had to be done. Yeah, they said there's a method to the madness, or there's a reason for it. And then the riddles will reveal it, but you have to be willing to ask the right questions. And they're saying the answer is in the question. And now they're showing me the scene from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy where they're like, what's the meaning of life? Oh yeah, that's the supercomputer again. Supercomputer. What? 42. That's the meaning of life. And they're like, what? We waited millions of years for this answer and it doesn't even make sense. And they're like, well, you have to have the right question. That's not the right question. Life, consciousness, everything, they're saying. And they're saying beyond time and space. Okay, yeah. So I think I'm going to wrap it up, guys, because we're going on almost 50 minutes now. If you're still with me, thank you for coming along for this wild ride through blueprinter territory. It's interesting. Okay, they're showing me hefty codes and they're saying hefty, hefty, hefty. I think that was an old like garbage bag commercial. Something about a lot of coding, maybe trash coding that needs to be removed or taken out they're saying replaced, that needs to be replaced. There's upgrades going on, and they're showing me again the encounter with somebody who's an empath and intuitive, a psychic, somebody who is an emotion coder, somebody that does energy healing. I'm just looking at like Queen of Cups energy. Somebody who is a nurturer, somebody who has this high frequency soul embodiment, maybe a mother, or they hold that mother archetype. Could be like Christ consciousness, Mother Mary, Christos Sophia type. Yeah, they're saying crystal consciousness. Crystal consciousness. Even the name crystal could be significant. Or somebody with these diamond codes. Because that is what the blueprinters want you to have to activate this higher level of consciousness. And they're showing me the body as well. So this could even be going from carbon matrix to silicate matrix physically. DNA restructuring, recoding. Because the DNA doesn't just govern our physical our physical biology, like the phenotype expression of the gene, it also holds consciousness. It also holds certain levels of consciousness. And that does translate to how the physical vessel operates. But what the way they're showing it to me here is more so connected to how the physical vessel operates as a conduit for the higher level frequency of the soul, of the spirit, of the player of the game. The avatar getting upgrades, avatar consciousness could be part of this as well. It's like the highest level of the light body. So that you as the player can have more conscious and intentional, actionable free will of choice in every encounter that you have in this particular time-space matrix and the transitions within those various parallel realities, dimensions, worlds in this time-space continuum. Woo! This was intense, you guys. I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, I hope that this was helpful. So interesting. I need to go back and rewatch this a few times, I think. Yes, something about emotion coding, they're just bringing that up again, is going to shift the mental. All right, guys, I will leave it there. I'm sending you so much love, blessings. Thank you to the Blueprinters for bringing through this awesome knowledge, this awesome, really, I'm hearing treat, this awesome treat. Thank you for treating us. I love you, and we'll see you in the next reading. Bye.